On this episode of the Procedurally Generated Show, we pretty much discuss Final Fantasy. We talk about the week's biggest news, including the introduction of the PlayStation 5 controller, and we answer your questions. There's no John Cena here.
I don't know why I did
Well, howdy, everybody. Welcome to the Procedurally Generated Show. I'm your host, Tony, and joining me this week, I've got Ethan.
Hey, Tony.
What's going on, man?
John Cena is not here.
No. And if he was, we couldn't see him.
Oh, man. I'm about to put that in the show now just so people understand why I'm talking about that.
It is raining outside my house right now.
What does that have to do with John Cena?
I don't know.
Okay.
I can see the rain. I mean, if I was looking out the window, I can't see John Cena.
So Tony sees a Korean singer outside his window right now. Got it.
What?
Rain. Korean singer.
I've never heard any music by Rain. You are now.
I
going to
only
YouTube
know
and
of
sending me a
him.
link.
I only know of him because of Stephen Colbert.
That's an interesting way to learn about Korean music, I suppose.
College was fun.
Like, I think the only Asian singers I know by name are Psy and Real. And that's it.
Are those their real names?
Probably not. I know the band Lady Baby, Bandmaid, Baby Metal. And that might be about it.
Oh, come on. I'm sure there's one more you've heard of.
What, BTS, is that a thing? They're like Korean or something. I don't know.
I don't know.
I've got a really long list of Japanese music, but I don't really
I was
know
at
any
least
of the
I
names
was at
of
least expecting to say the Pillows.
the Who.
The Pillows.
I don't know
Not
that.
not
Oh,
the
I
Who.
do know the
Not the Who. That's
I
a
know the
different
Who.
band.
The Who is great. Like, I discovered the Who a few weeks ago, and I have been obsessed with Mongolian throat singing now for weeks.
And they
So,
also tell you to avoid touching people and spreading of germs and all that.
so yeah.
If that joke is lost on you, I'm not apologizing.
So, I think we've already mentioned it. Both of us this week have put significant hours into Final Fantasy VII R.
Some of us more than others.
Yeah, you put a whole lot more hours in it than I did. I think I'm sitting around the 5.5 hour mark right now.
Ah, you pleb.
So, so you're
I
like halfway done with the game already at this point.
I'm on like chapter 8 or 9. I don't know.
I think I'm still
I'm
technically in
like
chapter
11 or
2.
12 hours in, man.
So, I got with no spoilers. I Most of the content that I've seen so far in this 5.5 hours has been new stuff.
Oh yeah, it's just everywhere in there. Everything's new. Whether it's familiar or not, it's new.
That's true. I've seen, bits and pieces of stuff. And I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that distinctly from the original game. But all this stuff that happened before that for the last 45 minutes, that wasn't in there. Um,
They are really filling in the space on there, so you're getting your money's worth. So it's like, oh, I don't want to get this because it only goes up to the point where you leave Midgar. Well, guess what? I'm 10 hours in. Originally, I'd probably already be on disc 2, maybe 3 at that point on the original
oh
game.
yeah, absolutely. I was very curious beforehand to see, because we knew they were going to expand this into three separate games, how they were going to do that. And the answer is by adding a whole bunch of stuff. And it's not
They,
just
it's like they're really fleshing out ideas they may have had originally that didn't make it in, or it's like, well, I want to flesh out this character now instead. So let's give these three people specifically these three people more backstory.
Yeah.
So that's really cool for one thing, and then just getting to see a whole bunch of other things like the slums is pretty awesome too.
Yeah, so they have greatly expanded the story, and they're not just filling it with, this fluff stuff to, pad out the runtime to justify
But
making
that
these
stuff
three
does
separate games.
exist. It's in there, but it's optional.
It's in the form of like side missions and things like that.
It's like if you want to get good, you're gonna do that stuff.
But they have, shopkeepers now have their own personalities and relationships with the characters. They're not just go in, buy something, and leave. You actually get to see that they know these characters and are familiar with them and have had long-standing relationships with some of them in some cases. Um, you know,
And occasionally, they even have sales on specific items and limited quantity of various other items.
yeah, I've noticed that too. Going into the shops a few times, they'll be like, "We have high potions, but we've only got one. Do you want it?" And you know, they're super cheap, so why not get them? Um, but yeah, and
Usually, if it's like, okay, we have this many that we're willing to sell at a discount, then that'll be like a separate listing. So you'll have like high potion and high potion for normal price. Then after that,
yeah. So, and I really, really like that they have expanded some of the side characters from early on in the game to like main cast basically now, where they were just sort of there in the periphery beforehand. Now you've got these characters that when things happen to them, uh, it's going to hurt a whole lot more, I think.
that's if things happen to them.
That's true. Okay,
I
yeah,
mean, for all we
true.
know, we'll think they're gone, and instead they're just out having to do all this other stuff in the background, and maybe you meet up with them later.
True. And I have to say, I
And I really
really
hope so
like,
because they've really fleshed out a couple of characters specifically because of that.
without trying to get into spoilers, I really, really like what they've done with Jesse.
A lot of people are really liking that. They're like, "Wow, she's the new waifu in Final Fantasy."
You can tell she's got a thing for Cloud, and she's not shy about letting him know.
I think she just enjoys teasing him more than anything.
It may be that, but it's been fun to see those two interact with each other because you didn't get that in the first game.
No, in the first game, she kind of had a more motherly thing towards him. Like, oh, you got dirt on your face. Here, let me clean it up. You should take better care of yourself. This time
Yeah.
around, she's like just straight up flirting, I guess.
Oh, yeah. There's no other way around it. That is exactly what she's doing. There have been some new antagonists that I don't remember from the original game, or if I did, or if they were in there, I've just forgotten about them. Like the guy that you encounter a couple of times, um, who also wields a sword this time around. Uh,
Oh yes, him. Uh, I don't know. I don't know how far spoiler territory I can go, so I don't want to say anything related to his name or what he is. So
yeah. So, but yeah, he comes back a couple of times and
he's
saves you.
he's very interesting. That's putting it mildly, I guess.
While I was playing, there was a character that he reminded me of, and I've lost who it was. Um, I'll have to try to remember while we're talking who this character reminded me of, uh, because it felt like a really cool relationship that I want to see build throughout the game, and I'm hoping that he continues to come back over and over. Oh, he reminded me, he's like this game's Majima. Um,
Yeah. Perfect
the guy
example there.
the guy who is, a bit of an antagonist, but I don't know that he's really that much of an antagonist. He just wants to think he is. and then he's crazy. He is like insane, and laughs at everything. But it's really well done. I love the acting of the character. I love the way he comes in and out of the story for the couple of times that I've seen him.
I'm betting that he'll be like a guest party member at some point. So he'll be like part of the party fighting for with you at some point.
Oh, I'm sure
I can see it happening. It's
it
right. It's got to right.
it definitely seems like that's something that's going to be set up. There's going to something is going to happen, probably not in this game, but in the second or the third game, where while you've been fighting on and off throughout the entire game, you're going to have to team up together. And I think they're going to have this like respect for each other because they're very similar type characters, even though, Cloud is brooding and standoffish, and this guy is not. They're like total opposites, but at the same time, they're very similar in the way um, that I think they're going to end up. If you, I'm not explaining it as well as it is in my mind, um, but I see them being very very similar characters in the end.
Similar in design and probably abilities, but personality,
That's what I'm talking about. They're
they're just it's
polar
like
opposites in
yeah.
personality. So,
I don't know. I
um,
mean, there's a chance he might even be a full blown member later on in the game. I mean, we don't know if they're keeping the original cast or anything.
yeah, that's true. Uh, and they've made a lot of. I love the additions that they've made to some of the familiar set pieces, like even just the very beginning of the game, that opening cutscene where you see Aerith. She's, in the alleyway.
Proper name now,
Um,
yes. It's no longer Eris.
yeah. Well, I think for a long time people have just been calling her Aerith because that is her name, even though it was different in the U.S. release of Final Fantasy VII. Um,
Which was Final Fantasy IV in Japan. I mean, it was 7 in Japan. Sorry.
yes.
Oh man, this U.S. numbering thing is so crazy when it comes
I
to
think
Final Fantasy.
Final Fantasy VII was the first Final Fantasy that, I guess, aside from the first one, that got a proper number on, in both territories. It was the same number in both territories.
It's the one that fixed the numbering issues.
Exactly. But yeah, some of the changes they've made, little tiny things that they've added, camera angles that are slightly different, or um, small, subtle changes to the way the camera moves in a scene, or they've added a tiny little detail to something or other. It really changes and gives you so much more context to the story this time around than it would have the first time, or it did the first time, because the technology has improved so much. This is definitely not just, we're slapping a fresh coat of paint on Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, it's
This
not
is
it's not like you're playing Final Fantasy VII dropped in a Kingdom Hearts engine. It
no,
it's
this
it's
is
unique. It's they said, hey, we got the Unreal Engine 4 here. We have ideas. Slap, and then they slapped it together.
it's if we made Final Fantasy VII today, and this is the first time that we've made this game, what would it be? So it is a complete reimagining. While the story is similar, and you see all those similar story beats, um, they have taken advantage of 20 plus years of technological advances to make
Oh,
probably
they
a
have.
story that they wanted to do then.
Speaking of tech advances, did you see the Digital Foundry video on it?
I haven't watched it yet.
The game
No.
is like a solid 30 frames the entire time. Like even the smallest dip is like maybe to 29 frames occasionally, and
Yeah.
that's like a rare occasion. So even on like a regular PS4, not a Pro, it's still solid. It's pretty spot on there. That like they put a lot of work into this. Of
Yeah. I'm
course,
playing the game.
like the only downside is like you get into the slums, you start noticing some graphical things. Not like they're popping in slower.
Right.
I guess that I would say something like maybe Halo 2, like how that would load in graphics and assets, just layer upon layer. Because I still don't have a texture on that one on the door for that one area.
Really.
It's just brown.
And see, I'm playing on my launch PS4, and aside from the fact that it sounds like I'm in the middle of a jet engine the second the game starts up,
Oh,
I'm going to have to play the rest of the game with headphones because I have to turn the TV up so much for the PlayStation 2.
see, even like my PS4, it revs up whenever I got like Destiny 2 running, and that's various things on there cause that to rev up. This game, it hasn't even caused the the cooling fans to rev up that loud yet.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah, see,
it's been
mine,
running nice and cool.
the second you get out of that initial, title screen, my fans kick on and they're on as high as they can go. So
Maybe
I'm
you
gonna
need to
have to
dust
play.
out the inside of your system.
I clean it very regularly. That system is about as clean as it can get right
Install it.
now.
Install some liquid cooling on there.
So I'm gonna have to do something. Um, but yeah, and I've noticed some graphical things, and I don't know if it's because I'm playing on a launch PlayStation versus a PS4 Pro or whatever. But texture things like on side characters are not as, and I don't know if it may just be because I'm playing on a different system, but like when you can normally see every piece of hair on a character,
Yeah, yeah.
side characters you don't see that. It's just there's some brown around their face for a mustache and a beard, and you can tell where it starts and where it stops, but it's not as crisp and clean as the main characters of the game.
Hmm, that's fair. That's fair.
So it's a small little thing. It's not like it looks bad, but you can tell that the side characters don't have quite as much
Just
design
your
work
cookie cutter
into them
characters,
as,
essentially your NPCs.
yeah, it's like the shopkeeper or a guy you'll talk to once, and he'll be in a cutscene one time in the
Usually they have
entire
a little
game.
more care on those characters for stuff like this, but I did notice I like what you're talking about. I noticed like an NPC talking to another NPC on there, and I was like, okay, well, I noticed the hair on the character, and it was a female character. Then later, I noticed there's a random shopkeeper, and it's the same face and hair.
Yeah,
So, so I'm guessing they kind of skipped out or let. They were more lenient on this one. I guess they have a lot more little shops scattered about here and there.
hmm yeah. But the one thing about this game is that it is not barren. There are people everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so
The whole left side of your thing fills up with conversations that they're having too.
yeah, you see conversation bubbles popping up all over the place as you're running through Midgar. Um, but I really, really love this environment too. It feels very lived in. Like there's stuff everywhere. There's bottles on the ground, paper flying around. The the shops don't look like they're, cardboard cutouts of a store pasted on, the side of a wall. They look
Well,
really, really nice.
even in Seven proper, the shops on there were fairly distinctively designed or something on there.
Well, that they had the advantage of, the 2D, everything was a 2D background in there.
Right, right.
So, but with all of this being done in real time, it's really nice that you don't have, this building here looks like another building just around the corner. But, the world just feels real and it feels lived in and it's really, really nice.
There was one
Um,
point where I'm up above something on there and you're looking down on everything below. You're above the slums. I'll just say it. You're above the slums.
yeah,
Anyone who's played original Final Fantasy VII probably knows what I'm talking about because you're up in the rafters doing some stuff. You can look down, and this is this is probably the most disappointed asset I've come across. Was looking down at the slums, and you can tell it's just a flat uh, uh, what's the word I'm looking for?
Plane.
Skybox.
Oh, okay.
Skybox. Yeah, just for the ground though. But I mean, it's not your. It's a death field down there. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's flat, but it's done in a way where the angle you're looking at is supposed to look like 3 dimensional, but you can tell it's flat, and it's just kind of annoying. But I guess you're not supposed to be looking down that much anyway. So, hmm.
So,
But
combat.
it was a really well done skybox, quote unquote, because it was like you would look off one direction, you got it goes from houses to buildings, like an industrial thing, and then it's not like a complete reheating pattern, but you can see some pattern to it. Oh, I heard
So,
that one, Tony.
yeah, it's getting really noisy outside. The one thing I really appreciated, and this was a tiny little touch, or I guess not. It was the very, very beginning of that opening cutscene, gave you a look at life in Midgar from the top levels to the bottom. You saw, when it's a brand new part of the cutscene, so I don't want to go too much into it, but you saw, what life in the city is like for people in the upper class areas as well as the lower class areas, with like kids riding bikes and construction being done. And it was a small little thing, but it was such a nice introduction to the city that we didn't get the first time around.
Oh yeah, it's like the city being built before it became the junkyard it is today.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that was pretty awesome. It's gonna
so
be
I
hard for me
always
to get some of this footage because I'm so far into the game. Hmm.
So the combat is completely redone as well. It's no longer the, old school Final Fantasy heroes on one side of the screen, villains on the other side of the screen. Choose your stuff from a menu and watch it play out. It is very much an active uh, combat system. You're constantly pressing attack buttons and accessing menus. It's all done in real time too, so you have to be really quick about it and learn where things are on menus and properly use your shortcuts. I think if you hold L1, it'll
Yes.
give you a shortcut menu so that you can put some things over there that you want access to, like potions and
Yeah, you can map out
things like
special
that.
attacks and abilities and magics as well.
It
I highly recommend learning how to block.
yes,
Just holding R1, simple as that. But it is a lifesaver later on in the game.
well, it gives you an automatic parry against melee attacks, and it significantly reduces the damage from ranged attacks. So, um, and the one thing I don't feel overwhelmed with this combat system either. I played it in the demo and I sort of figured it out, but I was like, I'd really like to go back to the old, give me my turn-based Final Fantasy VII combat system. But now having put, 4.5, 5.5 hours into the game, I'm really figuring out that combat. I'm understanding how to, switch between characters and utilize their attacks to stagger enemies in you know a proper fashion so that I can deal with enemies faster than I was doing in the demo. Like that opening fight against the scorpion in the demo took me close to an hour because I was only sort of understanding the combat system when I played the game when I played the demo. It took me like 10 minutes in this because I had that knowledge and paid a little more attention to what they were telling me and understood the combat system better this time around.
Tony, you need to stop casting lightning outside.
Sorry, I'm really into that Final Fantasy thing. I'm casting
Just put the
thunder.
materia away.
I it's right here next to me. I have to use it.
The materia on there is way bigger than I thought it would be.
It's huge. I thought it was tiny little crystals,
It's like, have
but
you ever
it's
seen
like a
Dragon Ball? It's the
baseball.
size of the Dragon Balls, man.
And I don't remember seeing it in the original version of the game, but I like seeing it on the characters and seeing the differences in the materia, in like the swords and some of the items that they're wearing, and seeing it actually on the characters rather than just in a menu.
Yeah, I like that. Especially in games where other games where you'd see the weapons and you'd also see the armor differences.
Uh-huh.
But sadly, this one's just the weapons. But you know what? I'll take that. That's perfectly fine. And seeing just the little materia details, that's the best touch ever.
And I don't remember if could you upgrade the materia in the original game,
It leveled up. It would get better with each additional level through AP gains.
or like the weapons? Did the
The
weapons have?
weapon. No.
Good grief,
Yeah, it sounds bad over there.
it's getting really
Weapons.
bad.
If we need to cut the show short, just let me know.
I don't know that we do.
Okay. Weapons didn't have a level up system on there at all. It was just you buy a weapon and come across the next one. Like, okay, better stats. Does it have more materia slots? Does it have junction materia options? This and that. And you kind of went with it from there. But
Yeah,
there was never any customization to a weapon other than materia.
I have found myself really bouncing back and forth between a couple of different weapons with Cloud, because as you get more materia or level up the weapon, one weapon
You get
becomes stronger.
as you level up, you get what's called I think SP, and you go into your you get it, and it's over to overall for each of your weapons. So if you get five, each weapon gets additional 5 points that you're able to use.
Yeah.
So then you can go in and you get a screen that looks eerily similar to Final Fantasy 13, where you
Hmm.
select your abilities that you will be unlocking, I guess. If I phrase that loosely based on Final Fantasy 13, it's just you'll get various stat bonuses, like you can get additional materia slots. That's pretty neat. But you'll also
Yeah.
get like, okay, this one increases my attack, this one increases my defense or my magic, this one increases my attack if my HP is over or under a certain amount. So like Buster Sword right now, I have three materia slots on it, even though it's originally a two slotter.
Yeah. See, mine just still has two, but I've got a different sword that I'm using that has three materia slots and a summon materia slot as
They,
well.
as far as I know, they all have summon slots. I haven't gotten
I think
anything
they
that
all do.
doesn't. I'm betting something like the uh, oh geez, I don't know what all the joke weapons were. I know Barrett had like a boxing glove. These are weapons later in the game, or later in the original game when you went to Yuffie's uh, hometown. Uh, it starts with a W. They talk about it in this one. I've already forgotten the name, but you would get like a broom for Sid and stuff like that. And it was just weapons that were weapons. They had good stats, but they had no materia slots.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if we'll get something like that that doesn't even have a slot for your summon materia. And I'm not 100% on board with how the summons work, but I'm getting better with it.
Yeah, I've only had one opportunity to use a summon so far, so I
It
haven't had a
seems a
lot of
little
experience with it.
random.
Yeah, because you can't use them in every fight. It's not like they just they're always there. You'll see it has a separate bar that only shows up during what seems like it's only going to be very particular fights.
uh, what I've considered to be only boss fights was not only boss fights, but like really difficult fights, it'll show up on there, and you have to
Hmm.
build up your summon meter. Then you can summon your uh, summon, and then you have to spend your own ATB bar to make them use certain abilities, but they will kind of use their own abilities as they want.
Yeah,
But it's better to just tell them, it's like, hey, Ifrit, I need fire on this character now.
do it and do it now, please.
And I'm really happy I had him for a certain boss fight.
So yeah, overall, this is far better in terms of a remake than I was expecting. I was sort of thinking we were just going to get, before the demo came out, a prettier version of Final Fantasy VII, but this is far and above anything I could have expected, and
Oh, dude,
have been
pe-
so pleased with what I've seen.
people would have just taken a prettier version of Final Fantasy VII proper.
I think absolutely a lot of people would have been very happy with an HD version of Final Fantasy VII, but
Well,
I'm
it's like the
glad they didn't
graphics we
just
have
do that.
now in the world, but still keeping it turn based. But everyone would have been losing their minds, like, oh my god, this is what I wanted. But I mean, this right here, this is well above and beyond what people were expecting. I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Of course, the purists out there are still going to hate it.
There are, of course, going to be people who are like, "This is not my Final Fantasy VII," but um, I could not be more happy. I was going to wait until all three games were out and you could buy them all as one package and just play it all at one time. But I am so glad I didn't do that. Number one, because Final Fantasy VII in its current form will be a very long game. Um, you're looking at 120 hours probably between the three releases. Um, so I'm glad I'm taking this time and playing this now. It'll give me a couple years. Hopefully, it's only a couple of years, and we'll get part two. And then a couple of years after that, we'll get part three.
But
Um,
I want it now.
oh, I would love to have the whole thing now, but I there's no way I'd get through it in with the amount of things that they've added and changed and made better. I would not be able to dedicate 120 hours to a game right now. So breaking it up like this is going to be really nice, for me. Um, and I'm glad I had that moment of weakness. It was like, you know what, I'm just going to get the game because I know I will want to play it, and I know it's going to kill me to have to wait, 5 or 6 years still uh, to get a chance to get back into this world. Um, because they shouldn't have called it Final Fantasy VII Remake. It should have been Final Fantasy VII Reimagined. Um,
Eh,
because this
they
is more than just a remake of that game.
they could have called it Final Fantasy VII Birth by Sleep.
Oh, don't go down the Kingdom Hearts road. Let's not do that.
Final Fantasy VII. It's about time again.
Yeah. Final Fantasy VII, we broke the emergency glass. So,
It's, I'm wondering how true that might actually be.
um, and who knows when Final Fantasy 16 comes out at this point?
You
Uh,
know what? It doesn't have to. We're good with what we have right now. Just let's work on that. Finish
that's
this
true.
candy bar before we go to the next one.
Yeah, next month they're going to announce Kingdom Hearts 4, and then there'll be 5 games between now and then that come out 5 different platforms, and you have to get Kingdom Hearts 3.5 and 3.8 before you can get Kingdom Hearts 4. So,
See, I still haven't finished Kingdom Hearts 2 yet.
I have not touched Kingdom Hearts 3 since that hour-long cutscene. Uh, I would really like to go back and play that game, but I don't know that I'm going to. I guess we'll see.
Hmm.
But yeah, this has been a phenomenal experience. 5 hours in, so I cannot wait to see what the rest of this game and the relationships that are building now, how they progress as we go through this game. So, well, do you have any other thoughts about Final Fantasy VII?
I'm putting all the time into it. What
There we
about
go. I
you?
was waiting. I was
Oh,
waiting for a fire truck to pass.
yeah,
Sorry.
we can already hear it. So,
Okay. So yeah,
although
all I
that
want
one
to
is
do.
louder right there.
Well, it's coming by itself, and it has to get all the attention.
Yeah, I'm not
It's,
editing this out.
I think it's the fire chief following the fire truck. So I don't know. All I want to do right now is just go play more Final Fantasy VII.
I'm sure people would have been mad if I was playing that on the show this week.
I want
It's
to
like,
play
how dare
all
you
the Final
spoil me
Fantasy.
on this?
Yeah. I had thought about it as a joke, just saying, "Hey, you know what? We should play Final Fantasy VII for the show this weekend and call it good."
Oh,
But
one thing that I do want to throw in out or throw out there is I noticed it first with Tifa. I gotta go with proper names now since we have proper pronunciations. Tifa, and then I noticed it with Jesse, or yeah, Jesse. Uh, they both they are both very animated in their uh, actions and talking.
oh yes, absolutely. They have a lot of
Like
stuff happening with
particularly Tifa, she like everything she's doing is like okay, these are very Japanese mannerisms she is showing,
yeah.
and
There's
she is and
little
they're
hops and playful dances
yeah,
and
and it's like turned up really high on the amount of animations she is doing. It's like okay, okay, all right, I kind of get it. She's trying to be kind of cutesy, but she doesn't want to act that way. Okay.
yeah.
Hmm.
I, I've also noticed that I've been pronouncing Mako wrong for 23 years.
Mako.
I pronounced it Mako my entire life, but it's apparently not how it's pronounced.
The Mako reactor. The Mako reactor. Mako sounded a lot better, really.
I think so, but whatever.
Every time you see Mako, just go and put a little E in there. It's like, now it's Mako. Or a Y, you know.
Yep, put it Mayko. That's how they should have spelled it.
Or a little tilde in there. I don't know.
You see, two consonants would say short vowel sound. One consonant seems to imply long vowel sound. So I don't know.
Oh well. Final Fantasy VII, is it good? Yes, it is. Should you get it? Yes, you should.
Absolutely. Yes, on both accounts, it is very good. You should definitely play it. It'll be exclusive to the PS4 for a year. Then I imagine April 10th,
We'll
2021,
see it on PC.
it'll be on PC and Xbox.
I really look forward to it being on PC just because I want to see all the extra stuff that comes from one, the modding community, but
Oh yeah.
two, the people who just want to dig into that code and see what's out there, shouldn't what's what you shouldn't be seeing in the game, and what versus what you should see, and what you can't see versus what you might see. I'm kind of rambling.
I don't think it's going to happen, but I personally would really like to see
Oh, it can
the
be done with the PS4 version. I know that. I'm just
well, I'm
PC.
just thinking this game is not going to come to Switch. I don't think there's any way this game comes to Switch.
Oh no,
Uh,
not anytime soon anyway.
but I would love to see maybe just me personally them do the Final Fantasy 15 thing they did with the mobile version.
Except we
Uh,
do get a mobile version.
I guess what that would be though, they just re-release Final Fantasy 7 again with HD graphics.
I wouldn't. I
So,
really wouldn't want that. I would just want. I would want the weird chibi style game still.
well, that's what I'm talking about. They
Oh,
would do
okay, okay,
something like
okay.
that.
All right, all right.
Um,
So using the original PS1 graphics. Okay. Yeah,
so
I would love to see. I would love to see a port of a pocket mode of that game of remake in that style.
the thing is, with what they did with Final Fantasy 15 was they cut out all of the unnecessary story bits, only gave you the relevant stuff. So, what would that be? Would it just be the stuff from the first game? You'd have to figure out how to get some of the new stuff into that. I don't even want to try to speculate how they would do that. I doubt it will happen. I seriously don't see this game coming to anything but PS4, Xbox, and PC.
All right,
And then it will, of
we need to
course,
put
be
this
on.
into the game. Yes or no? Flip a coin. Landed on
Yeah,
heads. You didn't call it in the air. So is it going in or not? I don't know.
and I would
And
imagine
there
there'll
we
be
are.
PS5 and Series X versions of these games that maybe are, uh, I don't know, higher if higher res or higher frame rate would be a thing that they would do, but I have no doubt that these games will be on next gen systems. So, we could sit here and talk about Final Fantasy VII all night, though. So let's take a quick break and we will come back and we'll talk about some news.
I'm glad you stopped talking about Final Fantasy VII because the quicker we stop talking about it and get done with this,
The
the quicker
quicker
we
we
can
can
play.
play.
Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of next gen systems, uh, Sony this week, in just an out of the blue blog post, said, "You know what? Here's the PS5 controller for you. Enjoy." And they showed off the PS5 controller. You know what? Looks kind of like the PS4 controller with some small changes, maybe some big
The
changes.
internet's really loving this controller. We'll just say that
I have seen very mixed reactions to this controller.
all the custom paint jobs people have already done are great.
So the image they've shown off, which I imagine you're seeing now,
If I didn't get lazy, it's probably on screen right now. Yeah.
is a two-toned white and black controller with monocolor buttons. It's not the four-colored, pink, blue, green, whatever the other one is, red.
Yeah.
You know,
Red,
is it?
blue, pink, and green.
Okay. They're gray, but they're white buttons with gray icons on them. Uh, the analog sticks are down in the lower, down in the lower half of the controller where it's black. Looks like it's probably some sort of,
They're still where they've always been.
yeah, they are. But that's where the sort of line for the two tone color is.
Oh yeah.
Uh, and then the top half is white. The light bar from the PS4 has been moved from the top of the controller to the sides of the touchpad, so it just lights up there along the sides of the
It's
touchpad.
more likely it's underneath, or it's
Probably.
probably where it's at in the original PS4 controllers. Because uh, if you've seen the ones that came out along with the Pro systems, right? Where it's got
Yes.
the, so what that is, it illuminates one thing, and that thing it just illuminates the plastic in the surrounding area. So
Yeah.
it's probably just illuminated around the sides there now, and that's all it is. It's not actually on the sides.
The
I
the
don't know why I
share
had to be
button.
technical, but there we go. You mean the honk button?
Yeah, the honk button. The share button has been replaced with what they're calling the create button, or we have called the honk or the goose button. It looks like it's got three little lines coming out, like the
Untitled goose honk.
yeah. Uh,
The start
so,
button is just three little lines that are horizontal.
so I've heard people calling that the hamburger button.
I think that came from the Xbox controller. Wasn't that where is my Xbox
It's the
controller?
same as what was the start button on the Xbox controller. Yeah, they have that button.
Can't reach. Got it.
It's
Yep.
like the
Yep.
options button on Google Chrome. It's the same thing. The three horizontal lines.
Back in my day, pressing start meant pause.
It's true.
Now I press hamburger.
It's harder to say too. The PlayStation button is not just a round button anymore. It is the PlayStation logo uh, that has been raised from the face of the controller a little bit, um, and it outlines that PlayStation logo. It's not just a round button anymore.
You know what's going to happen? They're going to do another PS1 celebration, or maybe even do it with PS2, and you'll have a custom little PS where it's the colored PlayStation logo from way
Oh,
back when,
you know that's going to happen.
and maybe you'll get the PS2 style on there. That'd be pretty cool too.
So, and then they're also saying that this controller will have feedback in the triggers, so which I think the Xbox controller already has.
Not that I'm aware of.
Does it not?
No, like this
I
one,
know in
like
some
when you're
games.
pulling a bow back or something to ready it, it's like supposed to like be harder to pull or something, isn't it?
Oh, it's giving. This is different than what I'm thinking of.
I'm pretty
Uh,
sure that's what I read from PlayStation as well. It's like you have to pull it harder. Maybe you'll feel like there'll be resistance. I'm guessing is what they're saying.
okay.
While I'm looking at it, it looks like the charge port's a USB-C.
It is a USB-C that has been confirmed.
Have to get another charge stand. Great.
I think the controller looks straight out of Mass Effect.
Eh,
Like it looks like something you would see in the Mass Effect universe.
yeah, kinda. I can see that. I also saw the resemblance to Portal.
Yes, it does look like it would fit in the Portal world as well. I really like it. I think it's a nice looking controller.
What I'm seeing on there that I don't like right now, there's still a built-in speaker.
There is, but they had to keep that because of
Backwards
PS4
compatible.
support.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
They didn't have to keep it. They could have just made it where it's automatic off mode and comes through the TV
well,
like everything else.
it's a little bit smaller than the speaker on the PS4 controller.
Oh, it's just less holes on there. It's probably the same speaker. I don't know.
So I don't really mind it. I think I've turned mine off a long time ago, so I forget that there's even a speaker on the controller.
At
Um,
least they didn't do the design that people were speculating, where it was like instead of the touchpad, it was actually a screen on the controller. That would have been
mhm.
dumb. Been too hard to
Yeah.
see stuff on there.
They could have brought back the PS3 boomerang controller.
Oh man, Sony should
So,
sell that just for fun.
just for fun. You know, a ton of people would buy that thing.
I know they would. That's that. You know what, Sony? I know you're not listening, but it's free real estate.
It looks like a terrible, uncomfortable controller, but you know people would buy it.
Yeah.
But I really do like the look of the new PS5. I think they're calling it the DualSense controller this time.
Yes.
It has a little bit more. It's like a little bit, I think, beefier form factor than the PS4 controller. It's not quite as round. It looks a little bit more like the Xbox controller in its form factor. Uh, Not quite the same, but closer to that than the sort of round
But
handles of the
it's
PS4
definitely
controller.
gotten further away from the original controller design.
Yeah, but it's still close enough that you can tell right away that it is a PlayStation controller. So,
That's debatable. Like if you blur your vision while looking at that, it's like it. And then you look at like a PS4 controller, then you look at a PS3 controller slash PS2 controller slash PS1 controller, and it's like, yeah, I can tell these are PlayStation, but this one it looks like just generic controller from blurry vision.
well, I guess I can see that a little bit. Uh, it it
Well,
seems like a
what we
natural
need to do
evolution
is find someone
for
who
the.
doesn't know video game controllers and say, "What is this?"
Well, if they don't know video game controllers, no way they'd know it's a PlayStation 5 controller.
There, problem solved. I win.
Okay, you got me there.
Oh,
Um,
did we see anything on the back, like about trigger attachments or anything, or not? Paddle attachments.
I don't think there's anything on the
Okay,
controller like that.
I didn't recall hearing or reading anything, so I was like, figured maybe I'd
Mm-mm.
ask real quick if you heard anything.
No, they'll have to release a an attachment like the PS4 controller has,
I really like my
or they will
attachment.
sell a separate, you know, pro style controller that has extra paddles on the back.
Again, I really like the paddle attachment on my controller.
I still haven't really seen. I haven't had any time to play with one or really understand why you would need the extra paddles, but
It's not for every game, even though it is programmable. But uh, I kind of enjoy having it on Final Fantasy right now.
no. So, well, one platform you're probably not going to see Final Fantasy VII on is Google Stadia.
Oh,
But everybody right now has the chance to try out Stadia for themselves for free because Google this week announced that they are giving everyone, as long as they have a Gmail account, 2 months free of Google Stadia Pro. So I saw that that was coming out. I immediately signed up for it so I could get the chance to test it out. It is the pro account that you're signing up for. It's not a free Stadia account like the free tier that they've talked about having. So you will have to cancel this if you don't want to pay for Stadia Pro after your 2 month trial is up.
Yeah, if you don't want to pay for that full $10 a month for
For 9 games.
9 game access, or for the option to buy one of, or to buy any of these 9 games.
Well, no, there's 9 free games, and then there's like
Destiny
30.
doesn't count.
Okay, so there's 8 free games, Destiny, and a total of I think something like 30 something, 40 something games that
I,
you
s-
could then purchase.
I
It's a
still can't
very
believe
tiny library.
I still can't believe they make it where you have to pay so you can just play Destiny still
Yeah, they because you
on
don't
on
have a free
Stadia.
account.
It's
Once they finally get around to launching that free tier, you'll be able to get Destiny on Stadia without having to pay for it.
I,
But
I doubt that.
for now, you have to have the pro account. And you know what? I tried it out. It works. Um,
Yes, it works.
as far as the gameplay stuff goes, it works on my system as well as GeForce Now, as well as xCloud. Getting in and playing games, it feels like you're playing the game natively. I don't notice a lot of lag. I'm not a pro tier player of anything by any means. Um, I can notice some in, like when I'm playing like Forza on my phone, I can notice some lag there. You can definitely tell it's not as responsive as it should be. Um, I can't play Stadia on my phone. It won't let me. It says I've got a compatible controller hooked up, but it won't let me actually launch any games for some reason. You don't have to have the Stadia controller. You can use an Xbox controller. If you're playing on PC, you don't even have to have a controller. It recognizes the PC versions of the games. Um, and I was able to switch back and forth on the fly in Destiny playing on Stadia. I had a controller next to me, had the mouse and keyboard. I would switch back and forth to try that out, see if it worked. It worked seamlessly. No, no problems with that. Um, so as far as actually playing the games, I have no problems with Stadia. It is as good as GeForce Now, in my opinion. I'm still waiting on Shadow to give me access to a Shadow PC so that I can try that out
I'm
and see
looking
how that
forward to
works.
what we can do with that one once you have access to it.
Yeah, because that will give me the ability to do a lot of video editing and things like that, um, and access to some games that I can't do on GeForce Now. So I'm
Yeah,
really
take
looking.
that, Blizzard. We have workarounds.
Yeah, I will be able to play World of Warcraft or whatever on a PC.
But why
Take
would
that.
you?
I won't. Um, so yeah, but I'm really looking forward to Shadow. The biggest problem the GeForce, or not GeForce Now, Stadia has is its library. It is tiny. There are only, like I said, 9 games available if you're a Stadia Pro subscriber, and only a couple of those are really games you're going to want to play. Um, at least for me, that may not be the case for some other people. There may some of the ones that they like may be really nice, but a lot of them are the small indie titles. Um, you have Destiny and Grid are the two biggest titles that are on there right now,
Hmm.
and then there's 2 SteamWorld games and some other ones that I had never heard of.
The main problem with the games on Stadia that people have that are using it that I'm seeing reports of is these are all games that been out for a while already.
Yeah, there's no new games. You can buy Doom Eternal on
There's what,
Stadia.
like one, two exclusives on there, I guess.
Probably. I haven't looked and seen exactly which ones are exclusive and which ones aren't.
I know there's at least one, and I can't think of the name of it right now.
They do have Doom Eternal on there, but it is a full $60 game. It's not on the pro subscription list. Uh, Assassin's Creed Odyssey is on there. I think Assassin's Creed Origins is on there. Both of those are $60 still. You can get them for like 15 right now on uh, the Uplay store. Tomb Raider, the original
Hmm.
Tomb Raider of the new trilogy is on there. It's $20. It's on sale for 10 if you're a pro member. Uh, but that is by far the biggest issue with Stadia is that the library is just not there. It is too small to justify the price that they're asking. Plus, on top of that, you still have to buy all of the games uh, that you want to play. So, and they're only then available on
Hmm.
the Stadia service.
Yep.
So, if the library was there, even having to pay for them, if this was the way you were going to play games and it was the only way you had to play them, um, unfortunately for Google, it's not. You've got GeForce and Shadow there that are much better in terms of just pricing and library because you bring your library with you to both of those services. And while GeForce now has had some stumbles, they're getting better. You're starting to see a little bit more support. They're releasing new games every week, so or they're giving access. They're not releasing because they are not a service.
They're not publishing. They're just
They're not a yeah. They are just giving you access to be able to play your library. But new games are getting whitelisted every week that are accessible through that service.
yeah, they're getting stuff worked out with people who were, for the lack of a better explanation, money hungry and just making excuses for why they
Yeah.
didn't want their games on that to begin with.
So I think by far GeForce Now is the best of the streaming services. Um, and then having that, and then getting an Epic account, and even though you have to have all these different launchers, it's a small price to pay for having access to a large number of games because Epic gives stuff away for free all the time. Ubisoft is constantly putting things on sale, and then Steam is famous for games going dirt cheap. So you can get a lot of good games on PC, play them on GeForce Now or Shadow, uh, for I think better than what Google Stadia is offering.
Okay. Yeah.
And then lastly, you put in a news story here about Animal Crossing being banned in China.
Yeah. So, uh, Animal Crossing New Horizons comes out. The world's loving it. Like everyone's like, oh my gosh, new Animal Crossing, playing the crap out of it. I'm sure China was enjoying it because like Nintendo Switch only had like so many official games over there, and I think they're all Mario related.
Mm-hmm.
And so Animal Crossing comes out, people are buying that. China government quickly had the game delisted from oh geez, it's their version of eBay over there. I cannot think of the name of it. Starts with a T, and it seems you can't buy the game. And it took a little while for the real reason to come up, but it was because the whole free Hong Kong whatever protest stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was too much freedom, and protesters were voicing or showing their uh, protest through the game because they couldn't go out in public because of the COVID-19 stuff.
Yeah.
And so you had like pictures of was it, well they have prime minister or whatever or president or whatever he is over there. They had pictures of him on the ground. People would line up their characters and they all start hitting him in the face with bug nets on the and kicking the dirt over it and stuff. And so yeah, got got banned in China. You can still like message people sellers directly on on their version of eBay and get the game, but it's like back market or black market, whatever you want to call it
Yeah.
at that point, because it can't be, if Animal Crossing New Horizons can't be officially sold over there because some people just can't let others have fun.
Yeah, unfortunately. So hopefully that will change, and that people will be able to get access to the game again. Um,
Uh, Depends
I
if
doubt it's
Tencent can
going
buy the Chinese government.
to. Well, we'll see. They own most of everything else in the gaming world, so maybe they can get that worked out.
So just let us buy you, and then we can put advertisements here and on our mobile devices.
So, but that will be it for the news this week. We have no listener feedback for this week, so that will be the end of the show.
Wow.
So,
You could have had a longer show. We could have talked about more stuff, but no, y'all didn't send us any questions, and we didn't give y'all any questions back.
so next week it is all Bullet Witch all the time.
No, no, no. They would like that too much.
Oh, that's probably true.
We have to punish them.
We're gonna talk Destiny then.
That works.
Just a 2-hour Destiny
Play it
show.
live on the show the whole time.
All right, so there you go. Well, thank you, Ethan, for being on the show this week.
Thanks, Tony.
If you want to reach out to us, we have new ways to do so. You can email us at procedurallygeneratedent@gmail.com. If you like what we do, you can support us on Patreon by going to patreon.com/pgent. Patreon supporters get the video version of the podcast a day early. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/progenint. Check out our YouTube channel, and we still have that famous Facebook group where you can interact with us on a daily basis as well.